Yeah, not yet. At least one. All right. Let the Remac meeting commence. Welcome, everyone. Everybody have an agenda? The attendance is being passed around. I ask you to please take a look at the agenda. Anybody like to make any changes to the agenda? All right. The minutes. Can we have a motion to approve the minutes?
Motion. Second.
Motion and second. All in favor? Anyone opposed to approving the minutes? Minutes are approved. Do you have correspondence going around?
So the only thing that I have just is state actions that I'll just read out loud because they have to be read in the minutes. Brent McGuire, privacy and presenting himself at a higher level of care. Shane Menskappa, fraud and criminal conviction. Jeffrey Brown, fraud, criminal conviction. Lancaster Volunteer Ambulance, it is CON issue. Gil Hall, identified himself at a higher level of care. Michael Barra, protocol violation. Teresa Melder, identified herself as a higher level of care. So those are the state actions. We have not had any state actions that we've read into the minutes for a while because there was a little bit of an glitch on the electronic side when they made that switch over. Ross helped me get that straightened out. We are getting everything we need to. None of these providers practice in our region or adjacent regions.
So is that making up for lost time, or is something else happening?
That's why there's so many.
Okay.
That's why there are so many. And they're not all in one agency. It's not like everyone's running around, we're a government agency. No, they're all spread out, not here.
All right. Any questions for Ben on that? All right. Program agency reports. Medical director report. You're going to be taking all of these?
Okay.
Dr. Cushman is out of town.
So Dr. Cushman is out of town. The first thing on the agenda is a New York State protocol update. New York State sent out an email. They are going to be, they have 2 revisions to BLS level protocols, both trauma related. Selective spinal immobilization is going to have, it's going to update the protocol to reflect current emergency medicine guidelines. And that's patients with suspected spinal injuries will receive spinal immobilization. The use of a backboard as a immobilization device has been proven not to be successful for spinal injuries, and therefore is going to be a device used for patient extrication and not immobilization. So they will be providing the training component that goes along with that. New York ASEP endorsed that, and they've got some training that they're going to, some articles they're going to send out to the physician body, and the New York State ENA also supported the activity, and they've got stuff they're going to send out to emergency nurses. The one concern is we just don't see, because our office isn't in the loop for like the ENA and some of the physician groups. We're afraid that the EMS providers are going to get their training before some of the emergency staff, right? So the first time somebody goes in without a backboard and just a cervical collar, we are very concerned that that's not going to go over well. In fact, we even Dr. Mudo has hit the ground running at Rochester General, and she's already had she's already seen a couple of cases where immobilization was questioned and mechanism was questioned. Dr. Murray and I were chatting about a case where somebody had a significant mechanism of injury and had no immobilization at all. So we have to kind of correct some of the misinformation that is out there from articles and people taking bits and pieces of articles and gems or something else and running with it. So we would ask that if you see somebody that didn't get a seat collar that should get a seat collar, please make sure you have that educational conversation with them so we can all be on the same page. Because otherwise that initiative will fail and we'll continue to have people with sores because of backboards and everything else. Syringe epinephrine kit. So EpiPens are really, really expensive. And this region is working collaboratively with a few physicians to do a New York State demonstration project to train basic life support providers to draw EpiOne 1000 out of a syringe and give it in lieu of an EpiPen. They got permission. The office is assisting in developing the training. For any of you, this is actually going to be pretty cool because they are ordering custom syringes from a European company. So instead of being 1 cc syringes with just the graduation, it's going to have 2 lines. One will be labeled adult and one will be labeled pediatric. So that this is really going to be simple. There will be about an hour-long training that goes along with this. That will be some physician voiceover, some case reviews, because you can't really do scenarios for somebody that's watching a video. But this is here's a descriptor of a patient that did not need epi. Here's one that we need to watch to see they may need to get epi en route, and here's the clear-cut anaphylaxis. So there will be some review of things that they may or may not already know. And that project will be commencing as soon as the supplies are in. So we didn't order the smallest increment that the company will make for syringes is 60,000. So they didn't place the order for 60,000 syringes until the commissioner signed off on the demonstration. Data dictionary and EMS charts upgrades. We have been working very hard to implement the data dictionary that this body and the council endorsed about a year ago. It is absolutely not an easy process. We paid for some EMS charts modifications. We had a consultant from EMS charts here for the better part of a week, and we worked with some volunteers from the EMS community to start to implement the data dictionary. The data dictionary was focused on us all using the same language for patient impression, transport outcome, and we also use this to improve the ability for EMS providers to document. The example I used for council was stroke care. We know that New York State is going to have they have requirements for the hospitals, the stroke centers, that they have to report on EMS data. We can see the writing on the wall that the Bureau is going to need to collect the data from the EMS perspective. And at least for our EMS charts users, that's now going to be available in a simple format. Once we've made any adjustments, as we discussed a year ago, once we've made any adjustments through testing in EMS charts, which is where about half of the region's charts occur, but it's a common platform between half of the region, then we can make any adjustments and we can provide final lists to our Zoll folks. So far, other than adding an outcome for BLS termination of resuscitation, we haven't had to add anything to the approved data dictionary. So that's progressing nicely. The last thing some of you may have worked on actually with Dr. Cushman is some of the QA rubrics that he's testing within the office. He's using some of his research staff and some of his education staff to come up with a uniform way to do QA. Right now, almost all agencies are doing 100% chart review, and that is very, very up for interpretation. It's only going to be as good as the reviewer. So what they've been working on doing and testing in a few different EMS agencies, and this is not software vendor specific, because what they do is they come up with a rubric, again for stroke care. Is seizure activity documented? Is time-lapsing normal documented? And it's very objective. And then the EMS agency is able to enter their information into REDCap so that we can use that to screen and provide them with reports back. Yes, sir?
How many rubrics do you intend to include?
Right now they're testing rubrics for stroke care, STEMI care. They originally wanted to do one for respiratory distress. However, trying to write that algorithm has proven to be very, very difficult. So that will be the last one you see implemented. And really, I think that's the one that ends up being the most subjective, because there's no way to know. It will get better now that we have this data dictionary. We've started to put in place. If we try to look at charts to abstract 6 months ago, we would just see respiratory distress was their impression. Now that we have our data dictionary, we can see respiratory distress, pulmonary edema, respiratory distress, that's asthma. And we've broken those all out. So hopefully we will be able to get better data. And so maybe those respiratory rubrics will be broken down into categories so that we can look at heart failure and we can look at asthma, we can look at non-cardiac failure, pulmonary edema, everything else. So those are progressing, but he wanted to share that because he knows some of you may want to take those back to your agencies as well. And then for the program maintenance manager's report, just the contracts have been signed and submitted to the state. So it looks like the Division of Pre-Hospital Medicine will continue to serve you. This time it's a 5-year contract. So the state, in anticipation of what sounds like some Article 30 changes and everything else, they wanted to just do a 5-year contract to give them time to, I think from looking at the governor's budgets, they're still going to try and consolidate EMS regions. It looks like they're trying to do things cautiously. I'm reading between the lines, I don't know if you can agree.
They don't tell me nothing.
So that is all.
Any questions for Ben? All right, moving on to the committees. Patient Safety Subcommittee, this is the formerly known as the QA Committee. We had a number of open positions with regards to the physician seats, and I'm excited to report that we have now filled most of them, though I believe we still have one available. So joining that committee is going to be Ruth Thompson, representing Unity, Aaron Muto representing Rochester General, and then Aaron Farney will be representing Livingston County. We have to report that piece?
No, there's not an action for this body. I know one of the things that we started trying to do was just report back kind of some numbers to the body of how many cases we are reviewing. We have reviewed a few agency level referrals. We don't have anything that has to be brought to this body to endorse our performance improvement plans, which is probably a good thing, and agencies are doing a good job of this. And since we started to track the Sentinel event referrals, we didn't have any Sentinel event referrals in the last 2 months.
Any questions about that? Julie?
ALS subcommittee is changing to a 4 meeting per year. 2 will be a go-to and 2 will be face-to-face. Looking to see what other committees we can help support. Training and ed was discussed, as well as the common source tag. So the next meeting will be at the ULPC, which I haven't been at yet, September 22nd at 9 a.m.
Okay.
Huh?
Let everybody know that you will not be able to be reached on your cell phone when they're not.
Oh.
It just doesn't work, unfortunately. All right, so moving on, protocol and policy subcommittees.
So for protocol and policy, there is nothing to report since we are in the process. They're in the process of working out the collaborative protocols and where we're going to fall in at. Essentially, those are at a point where we're just in limbo until the new AHA guidelines come out. They know that they have to make adjustments to the cardiac arrest protocols and whatnot based on that. So they are not going to implement the collaborative protocols, only to have to add AHA stuff afterwards.
So we have no action items on any of those 4 things. That's still true on your part. Ben and Julie, still no action items. Okay. Common source. Karen.
So as you can see by what's reported on the agenda, a couple things. We're going to continue to collaborate with Training and Ed and Pharmacy Committee about our findings related to our common source surveys. But I think I mentioned at the last meeting that one of the things that we think is an area that we can improve in is the communication from hospital pharmacy to our pharmacy committee to our agency leaders and then on down to our providers. So Ben and I talked back on the 2nd about working with Mike and facilitating that communication, possibly doing something through the website, possibly through a news feed when there are shortages, or if maybe there's an area of the website that is a little bit more secure to talk about updates, med alerts, back orders, new vendors to try, package changes, those sorts of things. So we'll have more to report in September.
Huh?
Sorry, we ran over. A lot of good things happening. The committees are doing a great job training in that, and peer committee are really active.
You going to be reporting on the state?
Yes, so since our last meeting, we have not had CNAC or Centerscope. They did select dates for the next CNAC and Centerscope. They are actually going to be in December because the state was unable to secure the hotel for the normal September dates. And I think they were waiting for some funding to free up or something. So it will be a little bit of a delay. I think you guys are used to hearing back on that.
All right. Today's Remac meeting brought to you by Ben Sensenbach.
Sorry.
All right.
So it's not my fault. Bob Reeves, for those of you that don't know, blew out his Achilles. So he is on his couch, he's got his foot up in the air, and he is driving soup nuts. So if there's going to be a trauma that RTAC needs to look at, it's going to be in the Breeze household. And so I would encourage any of you that would like to take him a cup of coffee and get him, keep him occupied for a few minutes. So I know the SEQ staff mowed the lawn and took care of a couple of things. At the last RTAC, Dr. Cushman had a lengthy discussion with the group about trying to move to a more uniform way to provide EMS report. There is no standardized way. There's a lot of systems that use things like a trauma timeout, or they have a set algorithm. Everyone follows the same thing for the same report, so things don't get missed. And so they talked about it with a trauma perspective, but like so many other things, they don't want it to be isolated to trauma. So the military, for example, they have the 9-line medevac request that every single person memorizes. And so every single thing is delivered the same way. I need this, I need this, I need this, and you get your resources. They want to try and find a way to emulate some of the other institutions' trauma timeout and package it so that it would be the same for stroke, so that it would be the same for STEMI, so that no matter what the acuity of your patient is, you can have the same flow when you provide report, whether it be radio, phone, or in person in one of the critical care bays. I know Dr. Cushman had a conversation with Dr. Gargano because it was prior to Dr. Muto being appointed, and because they want to do it regionally. They don't want it to be, if you go to Strong, this is how you deliver a report. They want it to be the same across the various institutions. So Jeremy is going to be setting up some meetings and start to have those conversations. And then the other thing for RTAC, the State Trauma Advisory Committee endorsed the pediatric required and recommended equipment lists. So that's available on the DOH's website. I'm very happy to say that of the items that are up there, I think our region, so Dr. Murray had submitted feedback to them that they all needed to carry, that they should require weight-based tapes for pediatric dosing, and people here are doing that. Our New York City colleagues shared that they really have trouble following the policy for patient restraint with pediatrics. People in New York City apparently don't own cars, and why would you have a car seat if you don't own a car? So that is a struggle that our colleagues have, and perhaps our rural metro colleagues may run into that much more than I've only ever seen where like it's in the other spouse's car or something, and we figured, you know. So, anyways, that was something that they talked about it. So.
Any questions about those topics? No? In Dr. Lum's absence, we have a report from him. And then nothing from Noise as well? Okay. Dr. Muto, welcome. Do you have anything you'd like to share with the group?
I don't.
Okay. Dr. Ruckman?
No report.
Nothing?
Nothing exciting.
Everything is
strong.
smooth and wonderful and transfers between Strong West and Strong. You're going
Strong is wonderful.
gangbusters?
We are the best hospital in the region.
I heard it.
All right, Bruce, can you follow that?
We have nothing unusual. Things are going pretty well for us too.
Guys, this is not a very exciting first meeting for me. I was looking for a little drama, a little argument, a little something.
You don't want to
Nothing.
that.
And we took care of that at home. We took care of that at home. Old business. Back to Ben.
Okay. So, is we are required to discuss, because it stays on the business, the endorsements for naloxone. Since I clicked print on this, Union Hill Fire Department has been working on this with Dr. Rockman. They have satisfied his requirements.
We're working.
Yes. It will be another agency that the Division of Pre-Hospital Medicine will go out and do the training. Eric Rathfelder will go out and do a couple of rounds of. Okay. He'll go out and do a couple of rounds. I know, right? There. One of the things that Eric mentioned to me, though, in passing today, that I think will have a lot of value with the Narcan initiatives, is he recommended that perhaps we consider regionally offering once or twice a year Narcan training, so that if the fire departments or BLS agencies bring on new membership, they are not trying to schedule somebody to come and train 2 or 3 people.
Right.
So that when this rush of we've had all these agencies come forward for naloxone, now all of a sudden you've got 10% because they're new people and they're not trained. So based on the grant that the council passed to support naloxone activities, I think we can absolutely make that happen at least for the next 18 months or so window. We're in the process of reapplying for the AMFAR grant to support Narcan activities, but there's still enough money from the second round of the grant that we can probably support that with no issue. I asked you guys maybe how often you think we should be shooting for if we were to do that.
Do we start with quarterly?
I would think, educators out there, how often are the BMT classes? I think that's going to be your biggest influx is when the new.
That's a good point. So if we did them at the end of semester,
Yeah.
so that people were like in orientation.
Right.
Since this revolves around fire departments, why not talk to my colleague on the fire side and see what they recommend, because they do their drives on a regular basis.
You think we could bang on the door of the guy next door to you?
Yeah.
And shoot,
I can do that.
Thanks. I appreciate that.
Sure.
So, but, at least for the foreseeable future, we'll be able to continue to support Narcan. And there's still plenty available in the office. So if agencies are having the Narcan uses, just make sure that they get reported and we can give them a swap. So that I don't know how long that will last until it's gone. I don't.
It's pretty popular right now. Pretty hot topic. So
It
I
is.
think funding will.
Are the training modules for that program available for agencies to
Yes.
access?
So yes.
Because we like to go through with our new EMTs because they show up with firefighters who are using it.
Yes. So the way Dr. Cushman, when he does the rollout to agencies, to be careful to make sure that it's at least being taught by people that, I guess, he wants to teach it, for lack of, I don't know what's the correct way to say that. He asks who's going to do the training, and then he sends them the PowerPoint. But the PowerPoint has been shared dozens
It's all over the place.
of times. So if you just shoot us an email
Sure.
with who is going to do it, I can tell you his answer will be yes. They do not have to receive the training through our office. It's just we have the grant money to pay for it if they want somebody to come out and teach it. And we could even do that for Metro, at least.
Yeah, we got a request from another agency to do it, from a state agency to do it for them. We said, yeah, we talked to City Fire, so.
Yeah,
I think
that
we
was-
still have some of it. I don't know if we have the PowerPoint or not.
Yeah,
so.
we could absolutely give the PowerPoint, just we use grant money to pay for it. So as long as agencies aren't charging to do it, that works. Because it's kind of about force multiplication. You know, I know long term we have no intention of doing them for all of us. And I know there's a couple other registered opioid centers in the region. So Rochester Regional, Strong Site, and then the state, New York State's got an office that's credentialed here too. So there's lots of people that have the grant money to do it.
I just want to quickly just bring something up to the group. Moving forward, we've heard of the Pulse Point application, or the app that will be coming out, and I think as that starts to come online in our near future, I think the greater good to society is going to be a push by us and Melrums to encourage citizens to become certified in CPR and AED use. And so thoughts that I have on this would be when it does come online that we encourage participation from all of our partner agencies of having a day, a community-wide training day, whether on the west side, on the east side, in different locations throughout our region, where we have many, many providers available, and we run through people 2 hours at a time to do that. So it's just something to be aware of, bringing it back to your hospitals for supporting this. I would encourage that and appreciate that. We don't know exactly what it's going to look like yet and what kind of potential funding might be needed, but I just mentioned that to this group now, so it's on your radar. Anybody else have any new business? Motion to adjourn. Selectman, we need a second. All right. We are adjourned.